मेरे को पता है हमेशा की तरह हम पॉडकास्ट अपलोड करने में लेट है, बट फिर भी स्वागत है आप सबका चर्चा इन ब्लैक होल में। और इस पॉडकास्ट में मितेश और मैंने मिलकर बात की है प्रणव से। अब प्रणव को जो भी नहीं जानता उनको अभी जाके यूट्यूब पे सर्च करना चाहिए, साइंस इज़ डोप, और उनका चैनल देखना चाहिए जो कि बहुत ही बढ़िया है। देखो, उनके साथ मैं पहले भी पॉडकास्ट कर चुका हूँ जब उनके 8,000 सब्सक्राइबर थे, और अब उनके हैं 50,000 सब्सक्राइबर्स। बट ये ग्रोथ का राज क्या है? देखो, इंटरनेट पे ना बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो एक दूसरे के ओपिनियंस डिसमिस करने पे, क्लेम्स डिसमिस करने पे लगे ही रहते हैं। बट बहुत ही कम लोग हैं जो एक्चुअली उन क्लेम्स को डायसेक्ट करके रैशनली डिसमिस कर पाते हैं। और प्रणव अपने चैनल साइंस जॉब के थ्रू वो बहुत ही अच्छे से करते हैं। और वो बहुत ही बड़े बड़े लोगों के क्या बोलते हैं, बहुत ही इलॉजिकल क्लेम्स को बहुत ही लॉजिकली डिसमिस करता है, और मेरे को बहुत मज़ा आता है वो देखने में। जब वो ऐसे बड़े बड़े लोगों की लेता है ना, बड़ा मज़ा आता है मेरे को देखने में। लेकिन जब भी तुम उनका चैनल देखोगे तो जो भी वो डिसमिस करते हैं, जो भी वो क्लेम डिसमिस करते हैं या फिर क्लेम को डायसेक्ट करते हैं, वो बहुत ही साइंटिफिक बेसिस पे करते हैं, साइंटिफिक मेथड के थ्रू करते हैं। तो मितेश और मैंने मिलकर एक्चुअली उनको सिर्फ इसी आइडिया पे थोड़ा सा चैलेंज करने की कोशिश की कि हम साइंस पे इतना डिपेंड कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि साइंस से हम मोरालिटी नहीं ग्रैब कर सकते, मेरे मेरे हिसाब से। इट्स जस्ट माई ओपिनियन। साइंस हर क्वेश्चन का जवाब नहीं दे सकता, और जो चीज़ हम साइंटिफिकली 100 या 200 साल या 1,000 साल पहले ट्रू मान रहे थे, वो अब ट्रू नहीं है, क्योंकि साइंस भी कॉन्स्टेंटली चेंज हो रही है न्यू डिस्कवरीज के थ्रू। तो हमने बस इसी बात को समझने में 1 घंटा लगा दिया और बहुत ही मज़ेदार कॉन्वर्जेशन किया। और मैं चाहता हूँ कि आई होप कि लाइक ये कॉन्वर्जेशन तुम्हारे लिए भी उतना ही मज़ेदार हो। और अगर ये कॉन्वर्जेशन तुम्हारे लिए उतना मज़ेदार हो तो सब्सक्राइब कर देना। बस इतना ही, इतना ही, और क्या बोलूँगा।
I was gonna ask who is the next person you will bash on in the next video? Like Sadhguru is done, Beer Bastard is done.
So
The recent one was the 50 where I love that video. I was like, dude, this is like 6 million. Like this guy is famous, and is still putting out bullshit like this, and people are watching it, and no
yeah,
one is like going against it.
I,
And
I
so
like
like, who is the next?
I like the way it was
Yeah,
very snappy. Like you were going like 1, 2, 3, 4.
yeah,
It was very snappy. I love that.
yeah. So you asked two. I'll talk about two things here. First
yeah.
thing is who am I going against? So I think when people see my channel for the first time, they will get the impression that I'm the guy who goes against me, who roasts people or abuses people or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Sorry.
How they think about it. That's not my objective. I wanna see, my channel is called Science is Dope. I want to
Mm-hmm.
talk about science, but unfortunately, the mindset or the landscape of YouTube in India is such that there's so much misinformation and pseudoscience. So unless, if you want people to have an inclination towards science, then they need to understand that what is being presented in front of them in the name of science is not what science is. And the only way to do that is to call those people out. And that's what I'm doing. And I wish I didn't have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the type of person who, tries to pick fights with everyone here and there just for some views.
For the
I
sake
don't
of
want
it.
to do that. But unfortunately, no one else is doing that, and it has to be done. So and that too, if you've seen my recent videos, I try to do it in a way where I don't abuse or roast. I hate the word roast.
Mm-hmm.
None of my videos
Mm-hmm.
are roasts. They just, okay, he said this is why it's wrong. He said this, please don't let yourself be fooled. This is the problem with
Mm-hmm.
thinking this way. Those
I
kinds
think
of.
there are two things to this. First thing, I think you toned down a little bit over your videos. I was
Yeah,
seeing
a lot, a
one
lot.
of your
Uh,
older videos, and there was a joke ki like, why don't people teach Bible lore instead of evolution in the class? And you said because they're not allowed to take your brain like leave their brains out of the class. That was like I was like insane joke,
Crazy.
but now it was not there. The video was still snappy, but there was not that kind of level joke. And the second thing is, but there is other way to like spread
hmm,
science, you can say.
hmm,
And the way is ki like you make content, like you make good content basically,
hmm.
rather than calling out bad content. Don't you think that's a more plausible way to do that, and much more
I do.
safer, much more safer?
Yes, I agree with you. If So I used to do that kind of content before I actually started calling people out or whatever on my
Mhm.
channel. In fact, now those videos are I deleted some videos,
Deleted,
I
yeah.
private some, but I, I those kinds of videos are not really appealing to people, and
Mm.
I feel it's because people don't have a mindset to accept that kind of content, or they don't have an inclination towards science or what's actual science, because again, like I said, what's being presented to them in the name of science is all this bullshit. I hope I can swear on
Mm.
your
Yeah, yeah, it's
You
fine.
can.
yeah. So uh, like, I think eventually I want to go there. I want to start making pure science content where I'm
Mhm.
not calling anybody out. I'm just
Mm.
talking about these really interesting topics in science. And I think the ones where I did the old videos where I was doing that, I think they'll be much better if I do those same topics right now, because I've learned a lot more about production. I've got some much more skilled people in, say, editing thumbnails or whatever working with me. So yeah, I want to redo some of them right now, and yeah, eventually you'll be seeing a lot more of that on my channel. But yeah, to answer your
लोगों को
question, people don't have an inclination towards just pure science.
अगर
So yeah,
समराइज करूँ तो लाइक लोगों को झगड़ा देखने में मजा आता है.
Probably.
sort of,
लोगों को झगड़ा देखने
yeah,
में मजा आता है. एंड it also sells better कि okay this person is against this,
yeah.
तो it also sells better.
Mm.
लाइक अगर अगर
Have you?
हम वी टॉक अबाउट इट लॉट, मितेश और मी टॉक अबाउट इट लॉट, कि लाइक अगर तुम्हें फ्रेंड्स बनाने हैं तो सबसे बेस्ट तरीका है कि कॉमन चीज ढूंढ लो हेट करने के लिए,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
और इट वर्क्स ऑन अ
Like you
ब्रॉडर लेवल
hate,
एज
you
वेल.
bond on hate.
हाँ.
You
Mhm.
bond on hate, basically.
Yeah.
I had a question that have you ever tried, or has some college tried to reach out to you and tell give us a lecture on this topic, or like have you ever planned that maybe one day you'll go to colleges and give lectures there
ऑन
about
साइंस.
science?
I want to do a TED talk one day. But
टेड
yeah,
मैं
nobody has
मैं
really.
मुंबई में कुछ टीम मेंबर्स को जानता हूँ, करवाता हूँ कुछ काम.
Yeah, you can connect.
So there is a committee member who did reach out to me. He was a fan of the channel,
Mhm.
and they were organizing this talk on in their college. I know what happened. He said it's not happening later, but basically they were organizing and they wanted someone to talk about the landscape of pseudoscience in India.
Mhm.
And yeah, he called me on. I was ready to go because
Mhm.
I've never done something like this and I
Mhm.
want to do it. So I said yes, but it didn't happen. But yeah, I'm hoping something in future does come along. I'd love
Because
to.
I think it's like a lot of these whatever people who try to promote pseudoscience, they're very active offline. Like there are events going on in huge numbers, but they just call people in name of, let's say, like let's some puja, or there's some big festival. They call out people and they start singing, and then slowly this slip off some scientific things like pseudoscientific things. You do this, and this not seen online. I think online, I think how many 30% of India is online, out of which I think 20% have high access, like high speed
Okay.
internet access. So I feel that offline there is a still a market where you can promote science, where these people are there and you people like you are not there. And hence I
Mm.
wanted to ask this question, maybe more offline distribution should be required. And because it's also more easy, I would say, because online, I feel most of the people online are sort of in favor of science, I would say.
Mm.
I think versus
There,
offline people.
So, as far as I know, there are some offline events in Kerala,
Mm-hmm.
and I am planning to go
Mm-hmm.
to some of them. But I don't know a lot about offline events
Mm-hmm.
outside Kerala. Although, see, I never really planned to be on this, be this phase of pseudoscience
Pseudo science
busting
buster.
in India or anything. I just want to be an online guy doing some science because I really like it. And yeah, look at where I am now. But yeah, if some event does happen offline, yeah, I'd love to be there. Yeah, you know what? To be honest, I'm thinking of organizing something, but I know what it's gonna be like. I've never thought about going out in public,
Hmm.
having built this online personality, because I know what's gonna happen to me. But yeah, let's see.
What's gonna happen to you? Like कोई आके मारेगा या
I,
कुछ?
so I think if I'd kept the same kind of tone that I had maybe 2 years back in my older videos,
Hmm.
that same tone, yeah, I think I would have been super offensive. And you don't know, like,
Understood.
depending on whichever part of India you're in,
Hmm.
it's gonna be pretty ugly. It's gonna get ugly pretty fast. But now I think with the tone that I'm talking in and with the tone of my videos, probably I'll be fairly safe. But I know, you can never know what how
So,
people react when
You
they
should not
take
come to
off.
North India then.
Yeah, why not?
North India,
so
especially
what
UP.
has, apart from like I think hate comments is like the normal. Like you get hate comments, it's pretty normal. You get, I think, used to that.
I
Ah, you're
don't
gonna say
get
something.
comments much anymore. So I think the
Okay.
hate was, so only the old videos where I was, my tone was a more attacking, more offensive tone. Only
Mhm.
there I would get a lot of hate comments.
Mhm.
In my recent Fituber video or even the Abhi new video,
Mhm.
the comments are there are very few hate comments, or at least it's maybe 5%, 10% of all the comments. Whereas in my old Sadhguru video, it'll be maybe
Uh,
Mhm.
40, 50% of the
Uh,
comments. So people are actually recognizing that, the tone tells me that this guy
mm,
doesn't want to attack, which
mm,
is what which is exactly how I intend the
mhm.
video to
mm.
be. So
That is
yeah,
good.
So toning down really helps with the content
yeah,
that
it helps.
people are
And
actually listening.
yes, exactly.
Uh,
And also the response, like if you look at the like ratio, if you look at the virality of the video,
mm,
all that is very positive. Uh,
mm,
so I'm not attributing every single good aspect of the good result from the video to
mm.
my change of tone, but
Tone,
I
yeah.
think the change of tone is a very major factor affecting all this. So
I
What
think
what what was like the worst thing that like someone told you because of a video? Like, I mean, I think you might have gotten some threats because why did you say this?
have you
Or
got like a proper threat? Like
threat, like a proper threat.
I've gotten death threats and all, but I mean, it's the internet, and nothing worse than a comment, a hate comment saying some death threat. I've gotten rape threats,
Mm,
um, and I mean, you don't take any of these empty threats seriously.
mhm,
So,
mm.
um, the worst comment. I mean, I've gotten, comments on my appearance, my speech, my fake accent,
Fake
apparently,
accent, fake
fake
accent.
accent.
and yeah, stuff like that.
I
But
think
that's it.
there could be more reasons to this.
Like,
First reason is ki like because you were making such polarizing videos, so now you are pushed up to the right audience. Maybe
hmm,
that's one reason. Okay, okay, now you're only reaching to the right audience, so
perhaps.
you're not getting the hate comments. And second thing is like in between all this, like
Mm,
अगर मैं सामने कुछ बोलता हूँ 101 में कुछ बोलता हूँ, like it's not like कि your views have changed over the time. Your views are fairly same, but just the way of delivering them is different now. क्योंकि like now you're talking to a lot of people. Like अगर हम 101 में बात कर रहे हैं, like अगर मैं बोल दूँ मितेश चूतिया है, वो बुरा नहीं मानेगा क्योंकि उसे पता है कि like the
mm.
intent is not that. लेकिन अगर तुम वीडियो
Mm,
में बोलोगे,
yeah.
now the shit
Yeah.
is real. Now the shit is real. कि like okay, it's not a joke anymore.
Hmm.
So
True.
Mm,
You're right. And I think right now, what you said, maybe the right kind of audience is finding you, and that's why maybe your comments are not so hateful. That's a very good way of thinking. So very often people see only one reason why they see this particular result. So, for example, if someone takes, let's say, a homeo pill and their disease gets cured, they'll think, oh,
oh, yeah,
it's
yeah,
homeo
yeah,
pill. That's that's helping me get rid of the disease.
Yeah,
Well,
it
there
makes
could
sense.
be a lot of other factors. Maybe the disease resolved on its own. Some diseases do that. Maybe they're completely ignoring all the many years of modern medicine treatment they've taken before this. Then maybe it's some other pill. So a lot of homeopathic doctors ask the patient to continue whatever modern medicine pills you're already taking. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
with that have this homeo medicine also.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, people don't think this way. They'll see only one factor causing
Mm.
all their let's say cure or successful treatment, and they'll say, oh, this homeo pill is what helped me, this medicine is what they help me.
So,
Same
I
thing.
think this concept is the like there is correlation, but it's not causation. They
Exactly.
might be correlated, but not causing it directly. It's
Exactly.
like the same
Exactly.
time.
Yeah.
So,
आई वाज एक्चुअली ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड कि लाइक एक साइंटिफिक मेथड में और एक लाइक इस वाले मेथड में डिफरेंस क्या है, ठीक है? एंड आई वाज ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड, आई थिंक द
What?
डिफरेंस इज कि व्हाट्स द डिफरेंस बिटवीन थिंकिंग इन अ मैनर कि लाइक एक रीजन हो गया या फिर दो रीजंस हो गए, इसकी वजह से ये चीज़ काम कर रही है, और एक साइंटिफिक मेथड हो गया. आई थिंक in the first method you are basically there is inference to the best explanation कि we are trying to find the best explanation of the problem, ठीक है? बट इन साइंस देर इज इन्फेरेंस टू द बेस्ट एक्सप्लेनेशन कि लाइक ठीक है, हम एक बेस्ट एक्सप्लेनेशन ढूंढ रहे हैं. जैसे आपका वो वाला रीज़न था कि लाइक ओके वुड डूब रही है तो लाइक ठीक है, मे बी भारी चीज़ डूब रही है, हल्की चीज़ उठ रही है, फिर लाइक देर आर इटरेशंस. तो आई थिंक इन्फेरेंस टू द बेस्ट एक्सप्लेनेशन होता है साइंटिफिक मेथड में, लेकिन वो लॉजिकली भी कनेक्टेड होना चाहिए, जो कि उधर नहीं
no,
होता.
but I think you're missing the most important part, which is evidence, because science has more evidence. I think Pranav's favorite word.
वही कह रहा हूँ मैं, वही कह
In
रहा हूँ.
both
देर इज
videos,
नहीं
Pranav
नहीं नहीं
starts
नहीं,
with
आई एम सेइंग दैट ओनली कि लाइक एविडेंस है, ठीक है? एविडेंस इस वाले केस में भी है कि लाइक ओके मेरी बीमारी ठीक हो गई, या फिर अगर मेरे को कोई और डिफरेंस एग्जांपल लेना है कि
okay.
सन इज गॉड, सन इज गॉड, आई एम मेकिंग अ क्लेम सन इज गॉड, और मैं एक्सप्लेनेशन दे रहा हूँ कि अगर हम पानी बाहर डालते हैं तो लाइक सन पी लेता है, ठीक है?
It
एंड इट
burns.
इज ट्रू, इट इज ट्रू, इट इज सॉर्ट ऑफ ट्रू, इट इज नॉट entirely correct, but it is true, it is a good
Yeah.
explanation. बट एविडेंस यहाँ पे भी है मेरे पास, बट एविडेंस लॉजिकली करेक्टेड नहीं है, जो कि साइंटिफिक मेथड में होता है लॉजिकली करेक्टेड.
So, first thing is, I wouldn't separate and make it as, let's say, scientific method is one thing, and this fallacy, this correlation versus causation, that's another thing. I mean, correlation versus causation is whenever you make an inference out of anything you see, then your conclusion, your logic, your conclusion, to make sure it's the best conclusion possible, you have to make sure you're not mistaking correlation for causation. That's it. That's what it says. In the scientific method, which is not a separate thing at all, this conclusions like this have to be drawn. Let's say you make an observation, you see something, you have to make a conclusion and inference and interpretation out of whatever you see. And there, all these fallacies come into play. Whenever you make a conclusion, you have to make sure it's the best possible conclusion, and you have to try and avoid these fallacies. So they both play a part in doing that. And the scientific method, I've talked about it in many videos. It's basically the process of using observation to come to a final theory that actually tries to explain or tries to model what you're seeing. So that's what the scientific method is. So
Is
I
it
wouldn't say they're two separate things. They're part of the
is science really dependable?
dependent.
Dependable, like is the scientific method the best thing we have? Because have you seen the movie Men in Black by any chance?
Which movie?
Men in Black.
Yeah, I've seen it, but it was a long time ago. I've seen the old version. Yeah,
The first one, the Will Smith one.
yeah, Will Smith one.
So there is this scene. So he's getting hired for the MIB, and Mr. the I think what's his name, Agent K.
Yeah.
He comes to him and
J&K.
like they talk about do you want to accept it or not, and
Okay.
he goes up, why don't you hiding it with the world? Why don't we go out and live to everyone that this is the aliens and everything? And he says that like 1500 years ago we knew that Earth was the center of the universe. Thousands of years ago we know Earth was flat. A few hundred years ago we know that we are the only people on this universe. So even science had has, I think, had its problems with its scientific methods, that we believed a lot of things before which are not true anymore. So in sense that the initial question is science really dependable? To what extent is it
like
dependable?
अगर मेरे को
Is my
बहुत
question.
recent example देना हो, we were wrong about mental health for like this like past century only. Now we are
Yeah,
correcting
yeah.
a lot of things.
Yeah. So
So
how much should I trust science is my question.
yeah. So the thing about science, the thing with science is that we so nothing is for certain.
Mhm.
The only thing we can say for sure is that it's better than what we knew previously. We are constantly updating and upgrading our knowledge. So we won't. So let's say, for example, if people used to believe that the Earth was flat,
Mhm.
and today we know it's round, it's going around the sun, whatever.
Maybe.
Nobody will ever go back to what they go back to Earth is flat from this point, except
Some
people.
The
people.
few people.
Yeah,
There is an official
idiots.
channel. There is an official account, earthisflat.org on Twitter. There are some people who believe that.
So the thing with science is that science constantly keeps updating its knowledge based on the latest observations we have.
Mhm.
Now, let's say we have ABC observations.
Mhm.
If we find a D observation, the ABC don't go away. We have to create a model that's now accounting for
Accounting for the D.
ABC as well as D.
Okay.
In future, if we find E, you have to account for A to E in the new model. So the models will not keep changing. That's the common misconception that's often there.
Hmm.
Changing is not the best word, but updating is the best word. So models keep updating, they don't keep just changing. So let's say in this process of updation, um, maybe we had the Newton's theory of gravity at one point.
Hmm.
Now we have Einstein's general relativity.
Relatively.
That is a process of upgradation. This doesn't mean that Newton's theory of gravity, whatever it said about, let's say, an object falling, that's now suddenly wrong. Those observations were perfect. That's like observation A. It's explained by both Newton's theory of gravity as well as Einstein's relativity. But Newton's theory had this observation D, which couldn't be explained by it. But Einstein's relativity explains A to D perfectly.
Hmm.
But yeah, and there is a new E that we can't explain even with Einstein's relativity. So we'll need new theories in physics. But this is basically what happens in science. Same thing can be said about mental health, what you asked me. We don't change our knowledge, just change our knowledge. There is a new observation, there is new data, there are new studies from which we made new conclusions, based on which we change, we update our models to account for the new observation. This doesn't mean the past observations go away. They are still there. Whatever model you make has to account for the new observations as well as the past observations. So
Like
yeah.
Newton or Einstein वाले example में भी like Newton model is correct. Einstein model is an updated one. Einstein के हिसाब से हम like आइंस्टाइन का मॉडल लगा सकते हैं प्लैनेट्स पे, लेकिन प्लैनेट्स के लिए न्यूटन मॉडल ज़्यादा बेटर रहेगा क्योंकि इट्स अ बिग ऑब्जेक्ट, वी कैन मेक सम अजम्पशंस, तो उसकी वजह से वो काम कर रहा है. इट ऑलवेज
And for even the planets, Newton's model was perfectly fine. Except, let's say, if you take a very high gravitational field, like say close to the sun, the orbit of Mercury, which is the closest planet, that orbit couldn't be explained well using Newton's
Using
laws.
Newton's law.
Basically, the shape of the orbit, the path of Mercury around the sun, what Newton's theory predicted the path will be, the observed path was something different. And that observation was explained by Einstein's relativity.
I didn't know
So
that. I didn't know
yeah,
that. The gravity thing.
yeah, though that is an anomaly in Newton's laws, which is explained by Einstein. So
I think you should have a series where you basically, tell like top 10 cool things about science, like something like that. Because like we want to know this, because I don't want to read a book about it. I want to know what is something cool about, I will tell my friends, oh, did you know this? Like, did you know why Neptune is like, what was the planet which, went out of the orbit to become a which is no longer in the solar system right now. The last planet, I think it was Pluto,
Pluto
It,
is in
it is in solar
it is
system.
just not considered, dude.
considered a planet in the solar
Yeah,
system right now. So
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. So Pluto is
Pluto के तो
there's no planet that
just
was previously part of the solar system which went out now.
Hmm.
Uh,
Uh,
no, yeah. The reason Pluto was downgraded from
downgraded,
planet status,
downgraded, downgraded.
it's considered a dwarf planet
Dwarf
now.
planet,
The
yeah.
reason is so a new planet called Eris was discovered after Pluto.
Mhm.
Its orbit was beyond Pluto, and the issue was, I think, in the next maybe 2 or 3 years, three more such planets were discovered, and some
Hmm.
of them were even larger than Pluto. So
Mhm.
we realized if we call them all planets, then this word planet loses its meaning.
meaning.
It's like every new thing is a planet. So
Planet,
what's the
okay.
point of calling everything planet, right?
Mhm.
So we decided, okay, to be a planet, you need to first be spherical. They call it hydrostatic equilibrium.
Mhm.
You need to be spherical. You need to be orbiting the sun, and you need to be
Of a certain
you need
size
to
or
have,
weight.
I think
yeah,
the orbit also should be the same, right? The same
no,
orbit.
you need to have cleared out your orbit.
Ah,
So
okay.
you need to be a big enough body that your gravity clears out all small rocks and asteroids from your
Mm-hmm.
orbit.
Okay.
Pluto was too small to satisfy this third condition. That's
Okay.
So they said, okay, so Pluto or and all other such planets which can't clear their orbit,
Oh.
they'll be dwarf planets from now on, and that's what happened.
So there is an eligibility to become a planet here,
Yeah,
and Pluto did not
So
hit
that's the
that.
thing
this is
about.
actually really, yeah, this is actually really funny. A lot of astronomers are against this because
Okay.
some people say the conditions are too vague. For example, Jupiter has asteroids in its orbit.
Yeah.
There's something
We
called
are safe.
Jupiter
We are safe
Trojan.
because of Jupiter, because it has so much gravitational force, so it takes all the
Yeah,
rocks away.
Yeah.
yeah. That's also there. That's a separate thing. But yeah, these rules, these conditions that planets should meet,
Hmm.
it's too vague. Like Jupiter has asteroids in its orbit, so
Hmm.
it's not really cleared its orbit, but we consider it a planet. So what is this? These conditions are they're okay. I mean, it's like double standards, right? For Jupiter, there's one rule. For Pluto, there's another. So yeah,
Maybe
some
Jupiter.
astronomers,
Maybe
yeah.
Jupiter is from a reserve category. You never know.
They are facing planetism.
Planet.
Planetism.
But
Yeah,
since you're talking about space
yeah.
and planets, what do you think about aliens? Because I always want. I don't care, like, do you actually believe or not believe? I want to know your reason of not believing or believing in them.
In
So, yeah.
So aliens definitely could exist somewhere.
Hmm.
When you say aliens, you mean alien life, I'm assuming.
Alien life.
So
Yeah.
life outside Earth,
Out.
that could definitely be there.
plausible
There are
statement.
so many trillions and so many star systems, each with several dozen planets.
Mhm.
So definitely there could be the right conditions for life somewhere else. So we just haven't found it yet. So aliens could definitely be there. We just haven't found it yet. The when people usually say aliens, they mean aliens on Earth or aliens among people. There are aliens
The movies, the
walking.
movies one,
Yeah,
the movies one.
all that. At least the evidence they pull up in support of that is just bullshit. I've never seen
Mhm.
any genuine evidence for any of that. So
Mhm.
aliens on Earth, I don't think there's any evidence for it. But alien life outside Earth, yeah, it could definitely exist. And yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Back to be against science a little. Okay,
Sure.
so okay, religion survived for a long time. ठीक है,
Hmm.
they
Very lot.
बहुत like अभी भी है ही, तो like survive तो कर ही रहा
Yeah,
है. तो
yeah.
there must be some reasons for it to survive, and I think some of the reasons are कि like first it provides morality in some sort of कि
To
like
some extent.
God is putting a judgment on you कि like this is the right thing, this is the wrong thing, because if you think कि like God हट गए, हट गए तो एवरीथिंग
People
इज,
will just start
हाँ
killing
लाइक
each other.
वो तो गवर्नमेंट ने रोक रखा है कि हाँ प्रिजन में डाल देंगे,
Yeah.
अगर वो भी नहीं हुआ तो
Hmm.
लाइक कोई भी किसी को भी मारेगा, किसी से भी चोरी करेगा, कुछ भी करेगा।
Hmm.
एंड वन थिंग इज दैट, एंड सेकंड इज कि लाइक कुछ चीज़ों को एक्सप्लेनेशन मिल जाता है जो तुम यूजुअली नहीं कर सकते। आई थिंक द मोस्ट सिंपल एग्जांपल आई कैन गिव इज ऑफ कर्मा। लाइक मेरे एक दोस्त था एंड ही डिड समथिंग, he did a fuck up and he was he didn't even did a fuck up, he did something nice and he got screwed up,
Hmm.
and he was just questioning himself for a week ki, like I'm such a good person, why such a bad thing happened to me? And then you can attribute it to karma ki, like okay that person will get its karma, and it's good enough, like एक हफ्ते उसको परेशान करने की जरूरत नहीं अपने आप को, you can just attribute it to karma. So
Hmm.
I don't, do you think ki, like science have answer to all this?
So, the first thing you said about morality, I don't think morality comes from religion. If you take the religious books, let's say the Bible or the some Puranas or some in Indian mythology, or
Hmm.
let's say some something from Islam or whatever,
हाँ, सारे सारे कंसिडर
those
कर लो,
books.
सारे कंसिडर कर लो, वरना फिर
Like,
ऑडियंस आके बोलेगी हमारा रिलीजन को बोलते रहते हो।
You can always cut this out if this
नहीं
is
नहीं
going
नहीं
to be
नहीं,
still
annoying for you. So,
अभी हम छोटे चैनल है तो
yeah,
हमें फायदा है।
those stories have even less morals than we have in society today. There are things like, murders of innocent babies. There are child marriages. There are things like demons coming and attacking people on earth, people in different parts of, let's say, the country. So I mean, sure, people had a vague idea of you have to try and be a good person. All that is presented maybe in these stories in a in some crude way, I guess. But I think we ourselves understand and practice morality much better without these books pointing the right way for us. I mean, I'm an atheist, but
hmm.
I don't go to these books to to understand how to act as a human being, how to live in society, how to be how to act towards other people, how to treat everyone else around you. I don't need any of these books. I understand all these things, and we have culture. We have stories from not just these books. We have other stories. We have stories of lives of people. We have fiction. Uh, uh, we have literally all these examples of people being a certain way, people acting a certain way, their actions having consequences. So I think with all these, inputs, all these things that we learn as we go about our life, I think we have a very good understanding of what morality should be, how you should act without any of these religions teaching you any of this. So I don't, and I also, like I said in the beginning, religions aren't really the best examples of good morals. So yeah, I wouldn't really agree with
But I
that.
think I
Yeah.
think I only have one counter argument against it ki, like you're not also under stress right now. What will
Hmm.
happen if you get under a stress?
So so
Don't
I
you
had
think
a
don't you think
I
ki,
had a
like
friend of mine.
okay, don't you think ki, like if something extra is holding you back, something which you think have value, like God have value, and you think like God is true, and then it is holding you back, don't you think it will be a better, like it can stop you from being immoral at times when you will be under stress, because it can happen. Right now you're under stress, so you can like carry your morality, but what will happen
Mhm.
if you
Mhm.
will be under
Mhm.
stress?
So I think, when you're in a stressful situation, the way you act, I think it's more instinctual or more the way you're conditioned to act by society. You tend to act that way, and generally societal conditioning happens to be more geared towards this idea that ideas from religion, idea that God will punish you, or
Mhm.
you'll the law of karma will punish you for your bad deeds, and people tend to use that uh, for the way they act. I think the conditioning can go away if this kind of rational thinking can help is more prevalent in society. So maybe even in stressful situation, if they are used to thinking rationally, I think people will act properly without god,
Mm.
the idea of god in the back of their minds.
I,
So
the problem with science is science actually kills morality at some sense.
for example,
Example, I was watching this anime. Okay, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood जिसने नहीं देख रखा उसके लिए spoilers. So I was watching this anime, and it start off with the way you tell people कि like, okay, there was this godman type person who had some special ball. I couldn't remember the name. What was the name of the ball? He has this special ball, and he was able to do magic because of that. And then one person came. He told कि like this god is bullshit. He has this ring. That's why he's doing all the things. And
mm,
it was only like 2 episodes. And then he went on. Then the whole episode went on to scientism. कि okay, आखिरी में पता चलता है कि वो जो balls थी, that was made up of actual humans. And then when the reason came upon कि like why you did that, कि like why are you so like putting humans on the line to like build these balls or something like that. And his reason was कि because of the progress. Every time in the humanity when we progress, we do such things. We do sacrifices.
yeah,
So scientific
this is
scientific method actually takes morality out of.
so this is this kind of thinking where you say the end justifies the means.
Mhm.
The consequence of your actions, if they're good, then the means
Whatever the
of your
deed,
actions
the
don't
deed
matter.
is justified. The deed is
Yeah.
justified because this is happening.
I think philosophically, I think this is consequentialism or something. I'm not very philosophically literate, so I
Even
don't really
even we are
know.
not. Even we are not. I'm just trying.
But yeah, I think what these kinds of ideas fail to take into account is that at the end of the day uh, h- we are not perfectly logical beings, although we'd like
True.
to make perfectly logical actions or say perfectly logical things. uh, at the end of the day, we are emotional.
Hmm.
Yep.
So you have to take into account a person's emotions, the pain they might go through, the suffering they might go through whenever you make actions. So I think here I wouldn't say that it's entirely because of science, although it's very hard to argue. Maybe you can convince me of that, but I
Maybe
think
someday else.
science shouldn't be given this evil or this negative image just uh, using arguments
I
like
I
these,
I
because
I'm not fan of this argument. I'm just trying to put you into
Mm.
a certain place so I can try it. Like okay,
bas- basically what I was saying was whenever such situations are brought as arguments, I think we have to also look at the pain and suffering that we are causing people through to reach our final end.
end goal.
So yeah,
Mm.
I
And
think
maybe
that
most.
is so. All this will, I mean, you have to consider things like human rights and all those
Mm.
things. Science, for me at least, I look at it mainly as you know as this achieving progress, understanding the universe, humanity learn so much more through it. That's how I look at science. I don't look at it as uh, you know uh, what Mao did in China. He made a logical action, and that caused the death of so many millions of people because they couldn't get food. Yeah, people use that to blame science, but I don't think science is to blame there at all. I think it's people, their
People.
emotional actions, their yeah. I think whenever such things come into consideration, you have to look at the human rights aspect of it also.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, but
I respect
I
science.
think I ranted a
It's
bit.
okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like I get the point. Ki, like science is like one of the best tools we can have to like think about things. But yeah, there are some arguments like, okay, we can't be entirely dependent on science. So I'm just using that argument. Nothing.
I think to fine tune what Tushar said is, I want to know how much of religion is actually good. Like there are obviously some benefits to religion, right? So how much,
What
if let's say there is a
I
percentage,
don't think like, I think the better question would be like, what do you think is like good about religion? Because we don't
yeah,
get
yeah,
to we don't get to know about it.
the good side.
So, honestly, if you ask my opinion, I think there's absolutely no positive to religion. Although I understand why people are emotionally attached to their religions, and it's very like when you're brought up in a religious household and you grow up looking at things, being told all these things, and then growing and understanding and looking at things through this lens of religion, then you develop a sort of emotional attachment towards it,
Mm,
that when someone like me comes along and attacks their religion, yeah, you do tend to get emotional about it. I understand that. So
mhm.
I wouldn't say anything that so negative about religion or something, but I have to, like, having understood a lot of things, I think there are no positives to religion.
That's why you're
Anything
atheist.
positive, huh?
That's why you're an atheist, not an agonist.
Yeah. So, anything positive that you can think of from religion, you can derive from completely secular means. Things
So
like morality. Yeah.
uh, I think what you're saying is religion is right now obsolete. Like it's waste of time. You don't have to
According
depend
to
on.
you,
According to you,
we're not making a conclusion
uh,
for the whole world.
yeah. Don't you think that also might be a problem? Because if you take away people's belief in religion, you have to give them something else. So
I've heard
uh,
this argument too. I've heard
yeah,
this argument.
people. So maybe people will
I
start
think,
worshiping you, and you will
You'll
become
become
the
the next
god.
god. You
Then
will become the next god.
you'll become
yeah,
the
yeah. There,
next
there
god.
is a South Park skit where
There is a Hindi
Richard
movie.
Dawkins,
There is Hindi movie
Richard
on it.
Dawkins creates. I mean, there are followers of Richard Dawkins, and there are people against Richard Dawkins. And in the future, some 3080 or something, those two factions of tribes of people are they're at war with each other in the name of, again, religion again. Although he started, yeah. So yeah, you're right, but this need for people to, fill that void with something
Mhm,
is because of this religious conditioning that they grow up with, right?
mhm,
If I feel, I feel, let me think about this.
mhm,
uh, so when you say that, okay, you need to rely on religion for some psychological comfort or something, and people use
mhm,
that as, I mean, sure, if you want to lie to yourself to make yourself feel comfortable, let's say, I can say that giving you cocaine gives you psychological comfort. That doesn't make cocaine any less harmless. Same
mhm,
way, religion doesn't, I mean, just because it provides some psychological comfort to some people, lying to yourself provides some psychological comfort,
mhm,
doesn't make religion any more true or any more, um, uh, you know, uh, the best source of, let's say, things like morality, values, all these.
mhm,
eh, th- Uh, that doesn't become any more true. You sure, you can use religion in whatever way you want. You can try and derive comfort or whatever from it, but at the end of the day, like, religion, you have to take, see, right now you're looking at only the positives of religion. You're saying, okay, it
It's
provides
giving me a
psychological comfort to some people.
community,
community.
and
Sure,
all that.
whenever religion comes, it doesn't come with only the positives.
It
It
comes with
comes
them.
as a complete package,
It also
and
Mhm,
the amount of atrocities, violence, deaths, because in the name of religion, is
mhm,
far more of a factor for you to be against religion than these few
mhm.
things, like,
it
looking
So
also it
for.
is it's also like you also have to follow certain rules. You're not free there if you are part
mm,
of religion.
You put a good point that religion comes with bad parts also. It becomes as a whole. On the same lines, what do you think is the bad parts about science? Because I'm pretty sure science is not really 100% pure, right? So you talked about the good parts of science. So I want to know what is the dark side of.
You've been with science for
Yeah.
like 8 9 months now.
Yeah. Before that,
So
I
what?
Eight oh,
What do
years
you mean
years
been
years
with science?
years years. But
Huh.
नहीं
years.
नहीं think about it.
I've liked science ever since I was a kid. I remember when I
Mm.
was 6 or 7 years old, I was sitting and reading this encyclopedia about nature, looking at all the animal pictures and
Mhm.
everything. But yeah, so yeah, your question. The
I
good part
I
about
think you also think a lot in science only. Like I was just saying a very different thing in the start of the podcast, and you then connected it to the logical conclusion.
It's
Okay, you should
logical.
think. Listen.
yeah, I mean, yeah, when you have a lot of things, or see, literally every single script or something I write, everything I do all day requires me to think this way.
Think this
So
way.
yeah,
That's why I was
I
saying
mean,
कि
I didn't
you are
do that
with the
on
science. You
purpose.
are with science a lot. That's why.
Really.
So what's the bad part of
Yeah,
it?
yeah, that was a question. So I think these there are some so all these bad parts, what you're calling bad parts of science, I think they are called bad because they end up having a lot of human suffering involved. Like say there are some you can say some experiments like the one conducted during world wars, or
Mhm.
there were some Russian experiments where they experimented on like uh, trying to transplant. There are many things. I think human body parts were transplanted onto dogs. Don't quote me
What's
on this. I'm not sure
ओके
about
ओके
this,
नो नो नो
but
बहुत सिंपल
some
एग्जांपल ये भी
experiment
ले
in
सकते हैं ना बहुत
Russia.
सिंपल एग्जांपल ये भी ले सकते हैं ना बिकॉज वी प्रोग्रेस्ड वी आल्सो डिड अ लॉट ऑफ डैमेज टू एनवायरनमेंट इन सम सेंस लाइक सिंपल एग्जांपल्स
Yeah,
कैन
yeah,
बी टेकन
yeah. That's a good example. I don't know why I didn't think of that
Mm.
first. Yeah, I think that is definitely a bad aspect of scientific advancement. Although I would attribute it more to the industrial revolution
Mm.
but
more than science.
that's also driven by science only no
Uh, it's so it becomes very gray area, very
gray
murky
area
when
के
you
लिए
say these things are because of science. I mean, you can make that same argument saying communism was driven by science. You can say what Mao did, killing so many
हाँ
millions of
मतलब
people. That is a consequence of science. You can say,
अगर हम ये कह रहे हैं कि लाइक इंडस्ट्रियल रिवोल्यूशन हुआ साइंस की वजह से और उसकी वजह से थोड़ा नुकसान हुआ भी बट साइंस की वजह से हम यहाँ पे तीनों आराम से अपने घर के कंफर्ट में बैठ के रिकॉर्ड करवा रहे हैं तो इट्स लाइक देयर आर अपसाइड्स एज वेल
yeah, yeah, you can say that also. But coming back to the negatives of science, I think global warming, if you consider that as because of science, yeah, I
Mm.
think definitely things like global warming, things like these pandemics.
Mm.
That's only because the COVID-19 pandemic became a pandemic only because human society was so connected because we're so advanced. We have air
Mhm.
travel, we have this kind of global tourism. All this could be possible only because human society advanced so much,
Mm.
and that's a consequence of science. You can say that,
Mm.
but I look at science only as this tool for us to learn and understand the universe, to
Mm.
learn these things about the universe, and things like the industrial revolution or technology or global travel, or all these things. I see them as applications of science.
गॉट इट
But yeah, I can see the argument you would make. These are some
Mhm.
bad aspects of. Yeah.
we
Some people will also argue things like the atom bomb, the atomic.
Yeah, the
I was
nuclear
going
power.
there I was like
I
I
mean,
don't have much knowledge on
see,
it तो मत बोलता हूँ
you have to also consider that there are emotions of people involved in making those decisions. Sure, you can create a lot of destruction and suffering through science.
Mm.
as a consequence of scientific advancement, as a consequence of what we understand.
Mm.
But you have to consider that these are the results of emotional actions by certain people, and you have to also look at it, from the angle of human rights, and uh, not completely blame it on science.
It can't be completely blamed on science,
Yeah,
and at the same time, science is giving its own benefits to you.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's also a
Mm.
thing. Are you ready for more debate? या फिर मैं topic change
It's okay.
करूँ?
You can ask me
Okay.
whatever you want. No issues.
I
You
have
can
a
even
so
ask me about. Huh?
just to chill out. So what do you do when you're not talking about science? Like you talk about YouTube on a podcast or like when you're thinking. So when you're not thinking about science, what is Pranav doing?
Good question. So I play board games.
Yeah, yeah.
So every
Mm.
There was
week,
this
I mean,
game.
if you
I
follow me on,
मैंने नाम भी रखा था उसका. Like मैं पूछूंगा क्या game है? Santorini.
yeah, that game is called Santorini, the one you saw me playing. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I play. You want me to talk about
I
that?
don't know. I don't know what Santorini is. Like, what is
So
that?
Santorini is this game where it's based on. So Santorini is the name of a Greek village, a
Mm.
city in Greece, and the game is basically designed with that aesthetic, that style of architecture. That um, the board is the artwork on the board is, those kinds of things you'll see there, that kind of idea. But basically the that is the theme of the game. But basically the game is to, it's kind of like chess. You strategize, you have
Mm.
a board, you have to move your pieces on the board, you have to build some structures, and there's an objective that you have to achieve in the end. At the same time, you have an opponent player. You shouldn't let him win, and he's trying not to let you win, so there's a lot of strategy.
हम्म,
So yeah.
एक और
So
बकवास सवाल
I
था मेरे को.
yeah, I didn't finish your answer.
ओके ओके
Yeah.
So,
इसलिए मैं रुक गया. इसलिए मैं रुक गया.
yeah, so I play board games in my free time. I do some powerlifting, power training
Mm.
also.
Mm.
So yeah, it's basically like so powerlifting is basically three main movements, which are deadlift, squat, and bench press.
Mm.
And I train to try and increase my lifts in that. And so yeah,
Why specifically powerlifting?
powerlifting. So generally when people say, hey, I'm going to the gym, you
Mm.
imagine, okay, he's a bodybuilder, he wants to go to the
Yeah.
gym to
Yeah.
lose weight or whatever. Powerlifting instead doesn't focus on, building a physique of a certain caliber. It focuses only on increasing your strength. So
Okay.
you have to train to try and lift heavier and heavier weights in these movements.
Mm.
That's basically what it is. And along with these three movements, there are accessory movements that you have to train in to
Mm.
strengthen certain muscles or muscle groups in your body, so that you can do your main lifts. You can increase the amount of weight you lift in your main lift. So yeah, I recently posted some
So
stories Instagram saying.
Yeah, we saw
basically
that.
you're trying to be eligible bachelor.
No,
Maybe.
no. So I think some bodybuilders try to do that. They feel that if you try to lose weight and work out in the gym, girls will like you more. I don't think that's true at all. Uh, in fact, I mean, I've had more girls like me for
The content.
for being a little overweight, I could say.
Interesting.
But
Okay. This is a
Interesting.
yeah,
new one.
but strength training basically doesn't focus on bodybuilding at all. It just so you can see a lot of powerlifters who are just fat, who are just
Mm.
people like okay, don't look at Thor now, but Thor maybe 4 or 5 years. Have Thor Bjornsson, four or
Mm-hmm.
five, the Game of Thrones actor
Mm-hmm.
who played the Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, maybe 4 or 5 years back,
Mm.
he was just fat. He was just really fat, and he used to compete in World's Strongest Man. things like that.
Mm.
So those people are all fat. None of them are bodybuilders. So yeah.
Okay. And so, why did you choose to build your strength and not your body? Like, did you just like bodybuilding,
Mm.
I,
powerlifting?
I think these are questions that you can't answer. Why do you
Okay.
like certain things? I mean, yeah, I just liked it, and I was gravitated towards training, and
Mm.
I found a good gym, and yeah,
That's it.
found some good trainers, and I just started doing it, and I liked it way more than when I was just going to the gym to lose weight. I've done that
Mm.
too,
Mm.
but yeah, I like powerlifting way more than bodybuilding. So yeah,
Understand.
that's what I do.
So, board games
He
and
is
powerlifting. That's
he is
Pranav.
already
Yeah.
liked for be like for his own weight. So why would he reduce it?
Maybe.
No, I'm not. I'm actually.
I'm
I
just kidding,
mean,
bro. I'm just kidding. I'm not like, don't take me seriously on this.
Yeah.
right.
मेरे को एक्चुअली दूसरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि हाउ डू यू फाइंड दीज वीडियोस लाइक द वीडियोस यू मेक रील्स अपॉन लाइक इतने बेकार वीडियो होते हैं वो लाइक
People,
Yeah.
लॉजिकली इतने बुरे
people
होते हैं
send it. People
पीपल
send
सेंड
it
इट
to
टू
me.
यू
Okay.
Maybe they DM me. Maybe I have a Discord server also.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe they'll put it on Discord.
I
And
think your best content is on Reddit. There are very
ओह
offensive memes. They're
दैट इज
very.
ग्रेट
dude, I don't moderate that subreddit at all.
You maybe you
People
should. I
just
don't
post
maybe
know.
you
random
should
things.
There
But
is this
threats on
one.
it
There is this one meme.
mm,
So there is something, and it says Ben 10. So basically, there is this god, which is like 10 avatars, and the caption is Ben 10.
Ben 10
Like Ben 10 has basically, so Ben 10 is a cartoon which has
yeah,
like 10
I know Ben.
aliens.
My sister was
So
a big fan.
well, that is like the most offensive meme
Yeah.
I've seen recently, and we
Yeah,
keep.
I haven't seen the latest post on the subreddit, but yeah,
okay
the Reddit is not moderated at all.
I
This
think
disclaimer. So yeah.
I think we're on Discord and Reddit so I would like to know कि, like how are you monetizing your YouTube because you have a join
or
button you
or
have a
or content
community
or
yeah,
content in
content
general.
in
Like
general like how are you monetizing it
So, yeah, YouTube. Fortunately, I have money elsewhere. So I'm mostly running the YouTube channel using my own
mm,
personal
expenses as
funds,
of now
whatever. YouTube, however, the revenue from YouTube has been growing pretty
mm,
exponentially. So
mm,
my growth in terms of subscribers has been maybe I went 4x or something in the last maybe 6 months, 5 months maybe,
mm,
and I've seen a similar growth in revenue,
mm,
although it's still not enough to fully be sustainable.
mm,
I can see that maybe at the end of this year, or maybe a few months into next year, it'll become fully sustainable. The amount of expense I have to put into YouTube will
mm,
fully be paid for by YouTube. And I've also got some revenue streams through Patreon.
mm,
And I've been getting a couple of sponsorships also lately.
mm,
So those help. Those things help. And
mm,
right now, what I'm just focusing on is all the money that I earn through all these streams. I
mm,
try to put it back into YouTube, and
mm,
try the next video. I want to make it even better than my last one. And
mm.
so
So when you say expenses for your content, what are the expenses generally? Because you're making the videos, right?
yeah.
So
So I have to pay my team.
mhm,
And
and how many
lately,
people are in your team
so right now I have someone to edit my videos,
mhm,
and someone to edit shorts for me, and
mhm,
someone making thumbnails for me. I do all the writing and the production
scripting.
and the filming and everything on my own. But all these post production parts, I offload it to
Mhm.
some people. They help me with it, and that's actually a really good thing. While they're working on that, I can start writing maybe the next
Mm,
video, filming something else. So having a team definitely helps, but
mm,
the cost of videos usually mainly, like 90% of it goes into paying people that help me out with it.
Mm.
Sometimes I also have to, let's say, make a certain piece of art. I
Mhm.
might have to hire an artist to make some painting or some artwork for the video.
Mhm.
Might have to hire someone to make some music or something for the video, or something like that.
Mhm.
So those things directly go into the production cost. So
Mhm.
yeah, those are the main costs, I suppose.
I'm not sure if you paid for it, but there is this one video where Sadhguru used this word dimension a lot,
Yeah, yeah.
and someone made
I didn't pay for that. Someone on my Discord server sent me that song, and I was
that is
like,
like the best song ever.
"Dude, can I
Can
use
you
it in my next video?" I asked him. He was like, "Cool." I
can you use it in our video? Maybe as the
Yeah,
outro.
for sure, for sure. I won't copyright strike you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Since you mentioned copyright strike, how many of your videos have been copyright strike apart
I've
from maybe
gotten
two?
two strikes so far,
Mhm.
both of which resolved on their own. I just appealed it.
Appealed it, yeah.
So uh, the thing is, people don't know what are the legal uh, uh, reasons for which you can copyright strike someone.
Mhm.
So on a video, at least I show that in a video. There is an
Mhm.
Indian Copyright Act
Yep.
which allows you to make a review or criticism of a copyrighted work, and that's perfectly legal.
That's fair use. That's fair use. Fair
That's fair
Fair
use.
use.
use, fair dealing, it's called in
Mm.
India.
Mm.
So on that grounds, I knew I was perfectly
Clear.
what I was doing was perfectly legal. I got a legal team also to help me out with this,
Mhm.
and on their advice I appealed both strikes, and
Mhm.
they both came back. Both the videos came back.
Yeah.
One video, however, the Sri one, you know,
Mhm.
it came back, but there was another copyright claim on the same video. And if I try and resolve that claim, it'll go into a strike again.
Okay.
And I didn't want to do it. So I just
You.
re-uploaded the video without
Without the part.
his
Mm-hmm.
consent. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That's great.
But basically, copyright strike is just done by these big creators to bully smaller creators.
Mhm.
Uh, you do a copyright strike, and people get really scared. Oh shit! I don't
No.
want to deal with this,
Uh,
and don't succumb to that fear. If you know that you are doing a perfectly legal thing,
mhm.
go ahead and appeal that strike. So
I I
that
think I think you're not big enough to bully small channels because you're at 40K right now. So if someone makes a
I
video
would
on you,
never do that. I would never do that.
I was
well,
I
I
actually
think
mean,
I was actually going through like the first thing I research like searched for you is ki, like science is dope criticism, and there was only one
yeah,
video,
yeah,
and it was of such a bad quality I couldn't see it,
it's very bad. It's very
and I
bad.
was
It's
like,
some
yeah,
automated
there is
video.
no guy who have like
yeah, and
spoken
even
against
the arguments in that video are
stupid.
basically they'll take my words out of context.
Out
They'll
of
cut
context. Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
when
yeah, yeah.
I'm adding a little, let's say,
Context or something.
caveat,
Mm.
something. Hey, I might have said this, but what I actually mean is they'll cut that
Mm.
part out and they'll take my words out of context and argue against it. That video is basically,
I think that's part of
but
being
yeah.
online. Like people will always take you out of context, and you cannot do anything
Yeah.
about it.
Hmm.
I try my best never to do that. Like whoever I criticize, I even if I can only include a small part of what have they said in my video
Mm.
for the interest of time, I
Mm.
tell them, okay, in case you feel that I'm taking their words out of context, I'll put a link below
Link in
to
the video.
their
Okay.
original video. You can go watch it yourself.
Hmm.
I encourage them to watch
There
the
was
original
there was
video. So,
this thing you used to do before. I don't know you do it anymore or not. Like you used to like reply against the hate. Do you still do that?
reply to the hate comments.
Yes.
Mhm.
Earlier you
No, I
used to
don't
do
do
that.
that
Now
anymore.
now you don't do it anymore.
I don't do that anymore. I've realized that it's a waste of my time. So I don't do that anymore. I might occasionally reply to maybe one or two comments that disagree with me, maybe
In a
once a
funny
week or
manner, in
something.
a funny manner, not against the
Malayalam.
argument, not against
Yeah,
that.
yeah, in a funny manner. Yeah.
Once that person, there was this person who like put a hate comments against him, and you were correcting his English on the IG story, and I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, do something like that. Usually someone else will reply on my behalf.
Oh
So
yeah. Now
Now,
you have supporters
now you
also.
have a
I think you
team.
have
yeah,
supporters.
so I'm like covered on that.
I think you have come to this rule that you realize it's not worth the time to argue with strangers online. It's
True.
not worth the time, especially on Twitter. I think you're active on Twitter also, and
Yeah,
people
yeah.
do reply a lot of weird things. So yeah. So since we are on this, which is your best apart from YouTube? Which is your best platform to be active on? Which you see in future would
Instagram.
be more active? Instagram.
Instagram definitely.
Very weird.
YouTube and
Why
then
it's Instagram?
Instagram. So I realized that the scope for growth or the scope for sharing on Instagram is far more than YouTube. You can't really share a YouTube video that you like. Maybe you can make a community post and
Um,
maybe only your subscribers will see that.
mm.
But on Instagram, the way you share is much more easier, and
Yep, 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 yep.
uh, that shareability is much more on Instagram than
Instagram.
YouTube. I've grown much faster using only Instagram related content, only Instagram focused
Interesting.
content without relying on YouTube. I've grown on Instagram far much faster than YouTube. So I think
Mm.
Interesting.
Instagram is definitely the same. Can also be said about Twitter, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
But
because in our case, I think 50 to 60% of our audience is coming from Twitter.
49%
Hence,
last time I checked.
yeah.
okay.
So hence that was my question. Ki, which is something which platform do you think in future, if you get the time to post more, will be your focus?
Yeah, I would say Instagram, Twitter, maybe equally.
Mhm.
Um, but I like Instagram more than Twitter. I don't
Although
dislike.
although I like the threads you make on Twitter, I think they're more in a fun way and it's all very informative. There
Yeah,
is one thread I think it was talking about sun, why the sun is actually green, but you cannot see it properly, or there is some theory,
yeah.
I forgot the name. So I like that thread video, which is something you cannot. I think the Instagram audience won't like it. Like for
Mm.
some reason, Instagram has a different audience. I feel personally it's a different audience than Twitter. Twitter is
Mm.
more about information and reading, and Instagram is more about funny videos and trends and reels.
That's what I used to think too. But
Mm.
I think some of my videos, which is purely informative or
Mm.
things like that, they are doing well on Instagram.
Okay,
So I think maybe there is an audience on Instagram for that kind of
interesting.
content also. So
एट द सेम टाइम आई थिंक इंस्टाग्राम पे जो लिंक फीचर आया स्टोरी पे उसकी वजह से भी काफ़ी लाइक
mm,
आर ओ
Yeah,
आई
yeah,
बढ़ना
yeah, yeah.
आर ओ आई बहुत बड़ा है उसकी वजह से लाइक
yeah,
अर्लियर
yeah,
आई यूज टू
true.
पुट रील्स ऑन द पॉडकास्ट रील्स आउट देयर लाइक आई हैड लेस फॉलोज एंड ऑल दैट पुट इनटू वन केस
Mm.
बट आर ओ आई बहुत कम था बट आई थिंक
Mm,
नाउ आर ओ आई इज मच बेटर कि लाइक अब जाके लोग यूट्यूब पे सब्सक्राइब कर लेंगे इफ यू आर दे आर सीइंग योर रील्स अर्लियर इट
yeah,
वाज लाइक
true.
टू मेनी स्टेप्स कि लाइक तुम बायो में लिंक करोगे उसके बाद ये
Mm.
नाउ यू हैव जस्ट वन
Uh,
स्टेप
So
I have two questions to this. That
yeah.
what are the current problems you face as a content creator in terms of maybe ideas or videos or being consistent? And first answer this question, then I have a different question sort of into this.
What are the problems I face?
Mhm.
Right now, to be honest, I
None.
think like I can't think of any because right now it just takes time for me. Like I have to write the video, produce the
Mhm.
video. So with time, I definitely can keep putting out content, and I see that happening for a long time to come.
Mhm.
So all the issues that I had with being a creator,
Mhm.
I try to solve all of them, and I feel I've solved all of them. I can't think of anything off the top of my head
Mhm.
that is a problem I face. Um, I would say so. Managing time is a problem, I guess,
Mhm.
because I can try and increase my frequency of upload, but for
Mhm.
that you need to get a team. You need
Mhm.
to make sure you to have that frequency of upload. You need to make sure that some part of the work is being done by someone else. You have a team for that. So yeah, right now I wouldn't call that a problem that I'm facing. It's something that it's
it can be improved in future, or it can be
Yeah,
better.
something that I'm solving.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I wouldn't call that a problem, but yeah, I am trying
Uh,
to solve that by getting people to help me
and
out with all the process. Yeah, but
and
apart from that, nothing else. I would say.
so this is sort of like maybe a big question, but I'm giving more context to it. That how has being this creator life helped you,
Uh,
and which maybe you don't expect when you started off, and you're seeing the benefits right now, and the downsides of putting out content. Like you put, maybe did you lose any friends on the way? Did
मैं ये
someone see
पूछ
your
रहा
video
हूँ.
like, oh Pranav, why are you talking about this? I don't like you anymore.
mm. So,
Like, did you? What are the benefits of this?
I'll answer that second question first. I don't
Okay.
think I had people in my friend circle that was
Mm-hmm.
very religious or something. Very, very.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that were of that kind of mindset, I didn't I didn't bother becoming great friends with them. So I've never lost any friends because of anything I've said or done online. And what are the benefits? So I think the main benefit is being put in touch with a lot of people, and also being put in touch with your idols, the people you used to watch, that you used to admire a lot. Like, there's a YouTuber called Medlife Crisis.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He watches my videos. He's a British YouTuber with some 400 500K subs, and he
Mm-hmm.
watches my videos. We DM on Instagram. He likes my content,
Mm-hmm.
and I was so happy when I saw that. And there are lots of people like that. There's Professor Dave. We DM on Instagram, and some creators from India. Uh, Lots of people have gotten in touch with me. I was on the podcast with
प्रखर.
Prakar recently, and people like Dhruv Rati also. And so, yeah, I think that's the number one benefit. You get to interact with the people that you used to admire, that you used to be in the audience of,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and now they're talking back to you. So yeah, I think that's one perk. The other perk would be that people share things with you. I feel like I have much more exposure to let's say some pseudoscience content, or even relevant content that I want to watch now than I did maybe 2 years back, because
Earlier,
people share those videos.
earlier you
So
used to scour the internet for such kind of content. Yeah, now
exactly,
you don't have to.
yeah.
Okay, I have question from the first thing. Like you said,
Now
ki
people
like
come to you and share their videos.
what
Sorry.
Mm.
I was saying ki like you said ki like you didn't make friends who were not into like religious or so. Like when was the time you thought you were like कि, like you're an atheist, not even an agnist. Like लोगों के लिए clear करता था agnist is someone की like जिसको पता नहीं है कि God नहीं है, so he doesn't bother. Atheist is someone की like he doesn't believe in God at all. Like you.
Mm.
I was an agnostic maybe 12, 13 years back, but I became an atheist maybe 10 years back.
10 years back when you
So,
were 20.
yeah,
Yeah.
when I was in college, and I got exposed to a lot of content, and they made a lot of sense, and their arguments and everything they said, they backed up all the points they were saying properly, and that really convinced me. After that point is when I became an atheist. And yeah, uh, all throughout college I was agnostic, but yeah, this turned me completely. For 10
Hmm.
years I've been. In the
Was it
beginning I
was
was.
it more of the content?
Yeah,
Was
you.
it more of the content, or was it more of the stories that you, or
And
the
also your
experiences you
love for
had
science.
in your circle?
Also your love for science.
So
Uh,
it's a bit of both. I think people like Richard Dawkins also made a bunch of
mhm.
documentaries. There are documentaries like The
Cosmos.
Enemies of Reason.
Okay.
Very, he talks about a lot of let's say pseudoscience or superstitions, or people spreading superstitions, people having these cults or groups or organizations doing all this stuff. And he had a documentary where he featured one thing in each episode. So things like that style of content, and also, yeah, my love for science, my predisposition for things of a scientific nature had a part to play. But yeah,
I
I would
think
say it's a
I
mix
think
of both.
Mitesh and me were like on the same question ki like what if you had consumed a different type of content? Would you have been atheist?
I mean, I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think.
Maybe not, because so is everything else the same? My love for science and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
my
yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah. Basically, the question is how much did content
how much
influence you
content
into this?
influenced you.
Yeah.
I think maybe about 50-60%, maybe.
Oh, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
You
Mm.
know what?
We can't like put numbers to it, sort of like can't
Uh,
Yeah,
answer.
yeah.
I'm not sure. It's very hard to tell, because because that content, I got exposed to, okay, you know what, I should read this book, and then
Mm.
those books uh, influence my thoughts. So if you're gonna count that also as content, then yeah, 50
Obviously.
60% maybe.
Hmm.
But otherwise, I would say maybe like 20-30%.
Maybe that's why you're a content creator, because you want to influence other people into this. That this is what actual science looks like. This is
Hmm.
all bullshit. So leave that. Maybe.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I guess you could say that. Yeah.
I think good note
Do
to end. Good note to end.
good not to end.
Yeah.
I
Let's
guess.
end
Yeah, I
it
think
here.
end it here. Bye bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye
Bye, guys.
bye.